Call the meeting to order at 6:30. And remind everyone, as always, being digitally recorded and to be as respectful as we always are for each other and anyone else who might be present. First thing, anyone here for open session? Okay, announcements.
Alright, so May 18th, which is Thursday, I believe, right? Thursday? Yes.
Mhm.
Thursday, the Historical Society is having an open house at the Pitcherville Chapel, which is a little bit into Templeton. Gary Kangas, I'm not sure if Gary Kangas is doing the tour and the information, but he has posted a bunch of things on the Historical Chapel, about the Historical Chapel, on the Historical Society page. But anyway, sorry, that's at 6 p.m. if anyone wants to go take a tour of the Pitcherville Chapel. Also on the 18th, the library is having the West African drum program from 7 to 8. I believe this one's for adults, but you have to register and sign up, so there's a phone number to call the library.
What time is that?
7 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
On the May 20th and 21st, Plainview is having a spring fling from 10 to 4 at the Alpaca Farm. 21st is looking a little rainy, so definitely shoot for Saturday for right now, but hopefully the rain will hold off and it'll be both days.
What's it called? What is it?
Spring fling at
Spring
the
fling.
at Plainview Alpaca Farm from 10
Thank
to
you.
4 both days. There's a lot of local vendors set up there, so it's a lot of good people there. May 23rd is the pastel paint night at the library from 6 to 8 p.m. Again, you have to pre-register for that. It's basically a pretty good, the people that have done it have told me they loved doing it. The guy that walks you through the painting does a really good job, so you don't have to be a good artist to do this, and you still come out with a halfway decent painting. So definitely, if you want to try it, call the library and pre-register, and that's the May 23rd. And then we have May 29th, which is Memorial Day. The parade is going to step off at around 11:15, but then there's been talk that maybe 11. So, but right now we're going with 11:50. And then afterwards there'll be a ceremony at the Common, and then everyone can come back over here for ice cream and hot dogs afterwards. The ice cream, I'm pretty sure, will be in the senior center like usual, and the hot dogs are usually done up by the Lions outside. June 6th is town meeting at 7 p.m. June 10th is the Hubbardston Fair, 9 to 2 at the rec field. June 13th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. is town election. And the only other thing I'd like to say is if you happen to be a business owner, or whether you live in town and you're a business owner, or you have a business that is in town, the EDC is doing a meet and greet this Friday, starting at 5:30 I believe? It's 5:30. You can pre-register your RSVP. There's a thing on the Hubbardston Celebration, Hubbardston People, Hubbardston EDC, a flyer to pre-register with the EDC, and we will be meeting and greeting the businesses. Basically, email Whitney. She has a new town email address. So
She
if you-
does?
Yes, we have a town email address for the EDC. So
Oh my
all of the
God.
stuff will be caught.
Right.
It's going to be up at Pinecrest Lodge.
I can walk there.
Yeah, I know. You can just roam on down. But yeah, so we're hoping that we'll have a decent turnout. RSVPs are due by Wednesday. So again, calling all business owners, whether it's a business in Hubbardston or you happen to be
Time?
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
Will you be having beverages or food?
I'm assuming we're having like little hors d'oeuvre kind of things, and yes, some drinks and things like that.
Just have food. People
Yes,
will come.
light hors d'oeuvres, and yeah, nothing heavy.
I believe EDC still has a grant.
No,
Is it? No?
I don't think so. We have a grant, but not for that.
Yeah.
Grand.
Oh, a grand? Oh, I don't know.
$1,000.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, we have a grant, but not for that.
That's a large candy
Yeah.
bar, you could
Yeah.
split it.
That's a big candy bar. Yeah. So I encourage all small businesses, if you know business owners, please pass that along. RSVPs are due by Wednesday, I believe. All right, that's all I got.
All right, thank you. We have only one item on the consent agenda. So all we have to do is to waive the waiting period to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a
I
motion.
got a hold on that. This administrative assistant, is this a new position we created?
This is Dennis.
Okay. So,
You still have a hold? On hold?
We
Alright,
did have to, can I speak on this item?
Yes, go ahead.
We did have to, Dennis, in another kind of appreciative statement, I hadn't even realized what kind of salary he was taking. We had to add almost $6 to the position in order to get somebody interested. So again, thank you, Dennis, and I look forward to working with Ms. Berry. She started today, so Travis and her seemed to have a good day. They both jokingly said that she would be back tomorrow, so,
that's always a plus.
Yeah.
As long as she'll be back tomorrow.
Wednesday is another story.
Yeah, probably.
So could I have a motion then,
I'd like to make
with
a
the wait-
motion
to waive the waiting period also, okay?
to accept the consent agenda with now I totally messed up what you said. To waive the waiting period, sorry,
Second.
thank you.
Motion made and second. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. New business. Review and approve 2023-2024 meeting calendar.
please note that thanks to Katie, we caught that June 10th was a Monday. So June 11th is the annual town meeting. I have changed it on the bottom of the document that is on the screen. It has also been brought to my attention that previously the select board may have only met one time in each of the summer months. So if that is something you're interested in still doing, we can amend the document. I would personally suggest maybe getting rid of the July 3rd meeting,
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've
if we were
never-
gonna get rid of one of the.
Yeah. Yep, cause we usually don't meet that week anyway, cause everyone's off.
Can you scroll down a little, please?
Yep.
So
Do we-
none of these days fall on a holiday this year?
When it's on a holiday, they
Thought it's a
move to the
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Alright, I'm just curious.
I would suggest leaving the two August ones, just in case we have a special town meeting, for now, cause we can always
Yep.
remove one later, but
Sure
last
can.
year, one of our special town meetings had to be in August.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would suggest leaving those two, but definitely get rid of July
Or
3rd.
July 3rd.
Yeah. Cause nobody's here anyway.
So after tonight, we have one meeting before?
Nope. After, this is it.
This is it?
Yep, and then you have a meeting slightly before town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Yep,
an hour
like a half
before,
hour, an
yeah.
hour before.
Yeah.
okay. All right.
And as with any other time, you can call a meeting, but at
If
this
need be.
time, that's the next regularly scheduled meeting,
Yeah, so like we'll
Would be
have one.
July 17th
would be June 6th,
or June 6th? Oh, yeah.
prior to
Of
town
course,
meeting.
right.
Now, we have one scheduled for the end of June too, right, or no,
Yep.
this year?
Yes.
The reason I was asking is because we still have to award the country and scholarship, and we usually bring them.
There's a meeting in later June, which I plan on doing all of the appointments, that scholarship. There's a employee thing that I wanna bring up.
Okay.
Like there will be a full meeting
Okay.
right before the end of the fiscal year.
Very good. Okay, good enough.
So we've got a meeting on the 6th, and then we've got town meeting on the 10th. Is that correct?
No, we have a meeting on the 6th, right before town meeting on the 6th.
Then again, next year's calendar.
Yeah, the 10th is.
That's next year.
We usually get there early and for our meeting, although last time we had it here, but
And then walked over,
usually
yeah.
it's there, but
The June 11th is 2024.
Next year.
any other?
So what are we talking about? 2023?
So we're looking at this
Yeah.
fiscal year coming.
Well, they're both on the same thing, right?
So,
So that starts us in July, the beginning of the fiscal year, and takes us to the end of the
Right.
fiscal year, which is next June. So
when
that
is-
June
so
date
when
is
For
24.
24.
Yeah.
yeah.
So when is this, our next meeting?
So the last calendar ends at the end of the fiscal year. That's the one you guys.
I need.
Our next meeting is June 6th, the town, just before town meeting starts.
June 6th, Tuesday, ATM, then June 19th, then we kick into this.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting calendar with the exception of deleting July 3rd, 2023.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second, any discussion? Any further comments about the dates? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes, opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Public Safety Building Committee appointments. Nathan has provided us with the composite of all of our, that were asked for us to submit. And the results, we have to, come up with 3 of them to put on the, committee. So, right now we'll open it up for discussion if any, or anything else. And then we'll,
Well, there's 4 of them that got 3 votes, so I think just by default, we should probably do those 4 for sure, cause they got 3.
I thought we
Unless-
could only pick 3.
well,
What do you mean?
We have to
Well, we
eliminate
could
what?
pick
these are the 3 members at large.
Oh,
Because-
there's
Those
only
are the
3,
top 4,
that's
but we
right.
need to
Oh,
do
I
3.
apologize.
I mean, but
I apologize.
So, I guess my mind, right, seeing those 4, so we have Michael Foley, Seth Knight, Carrie Sacramone, and Michael Stoll as the top 4.
yes,
I don't remember seeing Carrie Sacramone, Seth, and Michael Stoll on anything recently, but I think, I know Mike was at
Seth
least
was on the
that.
TA
Yeah,
search
Okay.
committee,
Yeah.
But I think he also might be uniquely qualified having a fire chief
and he's
background.
the fire chief in Rutland, yep.
So I guess in my mind, it naturally eliminates it down to Michael Stoll, Carrie Sacramone, and Seth Knight, because we want new people involved. And I think they all had
I'm down with that.
good rationales as to the backgrounds.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about is not having one of the people that are very strong about, cause the ones that we voted for, a bunch of them aren't the strong ones that we know if.
In favor of the
Yeah, well,
fire.
it'd be the ones that would be hard to get through normally, do you know what I mean? Like, not that
I
they'd
have
be
no idea what
opposed,
you're
not,
talking about.
yeah, not to be opposed to something, but like they're more stringent on what they would allow to go through. Some of the people on the list.
I don't
So-
think we
Mike-
can read into, I don't think we can read into the
Mike Foley's-
stringency of the personalities of the people on the list.
Oh, well, I know some of them would be, because they were here and they were very strongly
I
sat
think we
here
oughta,
and
I
put
think
on the
we
list.
oughta take into
But-
consideration the fact that, people that participate and get engaged with the functioning of the town
Agreed.
and, have a vested interest instead of, just sitting by the sidelines and not so much volunteering their time to help get things done. So with that being said,
Mike Foley has done a lot too.
I think Mike Foley would be a great candidate. I think Michael Stahl, who shows up at most of our meetings
Mm-hmm.
and shows an interest in the town, would be a great candidate. And,
Well, I mean, can we pick one right now? I mean,
Well, that's what the discussion's about, we're seeing how people
Alright.
feel.
yep.
I wish we
and I
could-
agree,
wish we could
I
do-
agree with the idea that the people who have the 3 appearances on our individual suggestions should take a priority. So with that being said, I think, Carrie Sacramone or Seth Knight would also be strong suggestions.
Well, is there any reason, and I'm just throwing this out, why we couldn't have 4 members?
Cause then you,
Odd
I would
even.
like
Yeah.
it to be odd.
We also talked about the
Well,
quantity.
they're not the
of
only
people.
members of the committee though.
No, but we
No, but
talked,
there are 4 other members of the committee.
it's already
Yeah.
7.
Noting that the kind of suggestion that I thought about in my head, if you guys wanted all 4, is to possibly not have a liaison from the finance committee, cause the finance committee after the election will only have 1 member and he's strapped being a liaison to, I think Chuck Reed has been a liaison to almost everything that I've attended that has needed a liaison from the finance committee, so.
The reason I ask is because the backgrounds of these people were really impressive, et cetera, and you get a nice composite of the type of information that kind of a committee would need as the project is going forward and so on. But I understand if it's an even number, but, to your point,
So we could appoint 2 more then, and bump that number up to
No, 'cause-
7.
No, because then you're going, so if you do 4 on this, you take out the finance, you're still at 7.
Okay.
okay,
I wouldn't do
Okay.
more than 4 members of the general public, cause remember, other people, like select board representative is from town and is a
Yeah.
town resident,
no,
just
that's all I'm
different
suggesting,
perspective.
is that the 4 that got the 3 votes there. Cause they're all, the 4 of them
What
are,
about an alternate?
are very good.
Can we make an alternate that?
There are no rules about this at all.
I think it
Like-
gets messier when you start doing that, like,
Alright.
I
Do they-
think, I think
Does
we
the
had
alternate
talked about this before.
Have to come to all the meetings but can't do anything, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, why
tough.
waste your time?
Yeah.
We also talked about this before, that this committee is likely to evolve over time. It may not start with the same people that,
Mhm.
put a shovel in the ground.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cause it has to go through renditions and
Oh,
different steps and
it's
stages.
a long process.
It is, so I think there's always gonna be an opportunity for more people to be involved, but you need people who are gonna be committed to showing up, who go every time, you need consistency. I can tell you, when you have committees and there's lots of turnover on them, all you do is have the same conversation you had 6 meetings ago, again and
Oh,
again.
yeah.
So I think in order to make this committee successful, we wanna make sure we set them up the best we can.
Yes, I agree.
With that, Mr. Chairman, would you accept a motion?
I'll accept the motion, sure.
Okay.
Let's
I'd
see.
like to make a motion that we appoint as 4 members of the public to the Public Safety Building Committee, Michael Foley, Seth Knight, Carrie Sacramone, and Michael Stoll, and remove the FinCom liaison position from the Public Safety Building Committee.
All right, thank you. A motion's made, is there a second?
I'll second that.
And second, discussion.
I'm
Any
good.
discussion from anyone? Chris, you look like you're about ready to talk.
Well, I think FinCom would be a pretty smart, committee to have on this,
We don't have anybody.
board. What do you mean, we don't have?
Doesn't
any-
FinCom will be Chuck, Chuck
There
will
will
be
be
FinCom.
one
We only have
person.
one person on the FinCom
You're
right
the only one
now.
to pull papers. We're hurt.
They can't even hold a meeting, so.
So there are
Okay.
3 right now,
3 what?
FinCom members.
Okay.
And so as long as all of them show up, we can have our meeting on Wednesday night for them to go over the budget and the warrant. However, after the June 10th election, if Susan, Amit, or anyone watching from home doesn't run as a write-in for one of the 4 other positions, the FinCom will only be Chuck Reed until such time as we can either advertise and get people in front of the select board, or have it removed at town meeting and then still advertise and get people in front of the select board. So no matter what, for some period of time, the finance committee is likely just to be Mr. Reed.
Okay.
And he also sits on the CIPC, which this is gonna have to go through as well, so then he's double whammy, at some point.
And there's nothing guiding us or stopping us from down the road saying, oh, there's a full complement of finance committee members, let's appoint one of them to a liaison to this position, possibly when we're talking about the funding.
Mhm.
Because the first leg of this is more or less going to be a envisioning session and trying to figure out what is feasible. Shortly after that will be the finance part, but
How about that, Chris? Down the road type thing, adding the liaison from the finance committee.
If they have one.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
if we're able to do that.
I'm sure we'll get some people on.
Is that okay with you,
I hope he does.
to do it that way?
Well, I think you just said that there's one person on the FinCom committee that could get involved in this, right? Regardless of
No,
what
he
happens
is,
going-
he is.
he is the FinCom.
I get it, right.
Yeah.
So,
But Chuck can't go to a meeting 5
He's already on
to
2
7 days a week.
committees, so
Right.
this will put him on a 3rd committee. I mean, that'd be like stretched then?
We haven't asked him, like.
No, we haven't asked them,
It's on their agenda for the upcoming meeting on Wednesday evening. And who knows, there's a good chance that both Susan and Amit run as write-ins, get on, and then we have the three of them still after the election.
yeah, I mean,
I think though at the same time, remember, by the time this gets, you know, just getting through feasibility study and so forth, there could be turnover in the positions. We could also relook at this. There's nothing, to Nate's point, that says we can't go back and
adjust
Yeah.
numbers.
design the committee and change it.
Right.
And maybe this is a good time to get FinCom to take a break a little bit, so we don't wear everybody out. Cause they're not gonna be needed up front, right? Up front isn't how much is it gonna cost, up front is what are we actually doing, what do we need, where the heck is it going?
Yep.
Especially where there's people that are actually willing to volunteer.
Well,
Yes, we like
Right.
that.
Please, you know,
and their backgrounds, I mean, we have, in these four we're looking at, we have people who are versed in real estate, construction, working on a project similar to that, from shovel to the very end. So I think, you know, that we should take advantage of that, because, and what's tough is, at least I was impressed by a lot of the, people's backgrounds and everything. It's too bad we couldn't use them all, because
Yeah.
they all want to do it, and they had a lot to offer that kind of a committee, so.
Don't worry, Nate can follow up with a follow-up. We have openings, shall I
that's.
list them for you?
Yeah, that's the follow-up email.
Okay. Any further discussion? There is a motion in front of us.
I need to understand the motion again.
My motion was to appoint, Michael Foley, Seth Knight, Carrie Sacramone, Michael Stoll to the Public Safety Building Committee while removing the Finance Committee liaison seat.
and I did second it.
And that was second.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, thank you. And you'll notify these people, or?
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely. Hey, Mike. Hi.
You're in.
we're still on this topic now, okay? There, one of the positions on this committee is to be a member of the, select board. Is there any one of you who would be interested in doing that?
I would,
You would,
I would.
okay?
Don't ask me why, I don't know.
And
Unless you would. If you
there's a
would and
night
you
that
wanna-
she couldn't make it, I would be more than happy to fill in for her,
Okay,
you know what I mean?
How about I jump in initially the first cycle, and when I'm burnt out in about 3 months, you're in.
No problem,
all right, then.
I got your back.
Could we have a motion
I would like to make a
appoint
motion
Heather
to
to it?
appoint Heather as our select
Select
board member
of the public?
of the Public Safety Building Committee.
Once you're spent, let me know.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second,
And second, any discussion? Thank you, Heather, all in favor?
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
You're not gonna vote for yourself? Come on, it's
No.
good stuff.
Good, thank you very much, okay. Well, we can move on then. Right?
Alright, so this next item is just a little thought that I had. I know a number of the communities that I've worked in previously, both Princeton and Shirley, had a Citizen of the Year, both a male and a female Citizen of the Year each year announced at town meeting with, what do you call it, with residents being able to suggest names ahead of the time. I was talking to Jeff earlier today, and I personally believe that this may be something that if there is interest from the select board in doing something like this, we table it till next year, seeing as the town meeting is in 2.5 weeks. But that it is something that I wanted to make sure was out there. Can I ask the select board if we've previously done anything like this outside of the honoring in the annual town?
No,
Report.
that's just a report,
Yeah.
dedicating the
That
report.
was my response too,
Yeah.
I don't recall ever doing it, and I think it's a great idea.
So, is this something you'd put out in a survey to have the people of the town to
Put out-
vote?
Yeah, you put out on our website and on some posters, hey,
And
nominate.
you knock it down to nominate,
And
you
then
know,
the select, we put all of them in front of the select board and
and just hammer
get,
away.
get a little, a nice plaque
Sheet.
and put it right there, and over time it
You
becomes
build, the names are added
something-
every day, I think it's a, I think it's a very good idea.
It's a good way to honor volunteers publicly, and people get to know what other residents are doing. Cause a lot of times you don't realize who's volunteering a lot on different town boards or on different nonprofits. You just think, oh, that's Tom. I don't really know what Tom does. He's the mailman. When in reality, he's volunteering for everything under the sun and is doing a ton of work. That's just something that I think would be beneficial in Hubbardston.
Mhm.
But like I just said, I think this year would be a little bit of a rush, and it would end up being slightly messy if we tried to pull it off by
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now.
I think it's an awesome idea.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we might couple, you're thinking like at the end of the year, correct, in the meaning?
We could do it
Spring.
whenever.
What I was gonna suggest is we couple it at one of the times when we have a parade, they could march in the parade.
Yeah. You
as
know what I'll do here?
Man and woman of the year, you know.
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request that this item is tabled for now.
Okay.
I will bring it up I'll write it up as a policy, even though it'll just be not the most serious of policies.
So you don't need a motion
No,
to show
I
it.
don't.
I think if I can speak for everybody, I know Heather just said it, I'm in favor of it, I think we are in favor of doing something
Yeah.
like that, so yes.
Yeah, I would like to not acknowledge the people that volunteer.
You could recognize them at every single event that we have, including starting with town meeting, but you don't know who's gonna get citizen a year till you come to town meeting.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That should increase that
So-
population
Yeah.
turnout.
You're calling it Citizen of the Year,
We could
so is
also-
it Volunteer of the Year, or is it Citizen
It
of
could
the
be
Year?
citizen.
Because
They
you
wouldn't
have
have to
Well, it
necessarily.
should be based
that.
on volunteerism.
Yeah, you have professional people in town that go above and beyond the call of duty. Maybe they don't do committees in town, cause they're so wrapped up in their professional
And
career.
that would be something that you, as the duly elected select board, would choose
Okay.
each and every year.
Alright,
If
I was just curious,
If
'cause-
someone rescued somebody from a car fire and
Yeah.
and they were nominated this year, and you said, hey, that was very awesome, we wanna
Yeah.
give that to you.
Alright.
It can be for different reasons.
Okay.
Whatever.
So there's no parameters.
Nope.
Great, thank you.
And this is going to be one person?
Man and woman, right?
A male and a female. That's what I'm hesitant to.
I think it should be one person, not a male, not a female. I don't see where gender comes into this at all.
Okay, that's just how I've seen it before.
Okay.
I'll write it up as a policy of sorts and bring it forward at a future meeting.
But we can kick that around, yeah.
Yeah, and it can be kicked around and changed and renamed and all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
And one would probably be appropriate as well.
Yeah, you could have a couple different titles too. You could have Volunteer of the Year, or you could have
Yeah.
Citizen at Large for of the Year, or you know what I mean?
And
You could do more than one.
if a team of people do something outstanding, there's
Yeah.
nothing stopping the select board from naming resident A, B, and C, resident of the, citizen of the year, because they did this great thing.
Right.
Yeah.
We can also, once he gets everything
I don't think
organized, and
citizen- I
we
don't
can put
think-
it on our agenda and we can hash it up too,
I don't think citizen needs to be male, female, or,
Other.
Does it have to be human?
Well, don't take it, the word
Male.
citizen meaning just singular, because the intent
female,
was
nor,
two.
nor,
One or the,
nor
both.
singular to,
Yeah.
to Nathan's point about a group of people that do something. They can be
Yeah.
a citizen something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll write that up.
And then we'll put it on another agenda. We got a whole year to plan it, and figure out what we wanna do. Alright. Moving on, a closure request, go ahead, Nate, if you would.
So as was mentioned by almost everybody at this table over time, over the last 6 months that I've been here, our employees do a lot, and I was looking to have a barbecue for them. It is part of something Tony and I have been working on to do more things to get up morale and to make work a little fun, like we're talking about doing the whole door decorating thing around Christmas time and having this barbecue, but it gets really challenging when we're having, say, the barbecue or the Christmas party and people keep walking in and Bobby or someone has to get up. It doesn't allow all of the employees to enjoy the small event that is just thanking them and giving them a meal. Like, there's not too much that we're really able to do within the confines of municipal government, and they all work hard. So this is just me and of the department heads requesting that you allow the closure of the town offices on June 21st from 12 to 2 for a employee recognition barbecue at the rec field.
What day of the week is June 21st?
I think a Wednesday, cause the 19th is Juneteenth and that's a Monday. Yep, it's a Wednesday.
So that's a short week then.
Do you need a motion for that, Nate?
Yes.
Is this something that, you discussed with the department heads, and this is
Yep.
the thing that works best for them?
Yep.
It's usually a slower time.
And then you'd have to come back to work after the barbecue?
It's going to be here,
Yeah.
basically.
Just sit at the rec field.
Yeah, we wanna go to the rec field,
Yeah.
and as long as weather is accommodating. Obviously, if the weather is not accommodating, we likely would do it here as a secondary location.
Why don't you do it later in the afternoon and then I'll go home right from the barbecue?
That's something we could do.
Unless that impedes your ability to, make the town function.
Oh,
Everybody, what's
Well,
the?
you're eating,
Yeah, what's
so-
the quitting time here, what's the quitting time at the, town yard, so.
On a Wednesday,
Yeah.
4 across the board.
For everybody?
There's no, well, the police officers and the firefighters are shifted differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, they're
12
coming and
hours,
going, they
yeah.
can stop by
Yeah.
the rec field if they
Yeah.
want anytime. Alright, just a suggestion, if this
No.
works better for you, I'd much rather go to a barbecue at the end of my day and then,
I
Go home,
don't
head home from there.
disagree, but noting that a lot of the administrative staff will sometimes say they're hungry at 10 a.m. So.
tell them to bring a snack that day.
Bring a snack and
'cause
we're gonna
lunch
eat
isn't
lunch.
until,
Like,
lunch isn't
I
until 2.
personally have no problem moving it from, hey, we're gonna have a barbecue at 2, but then again, if your options are go to a barbecue for 2 hours with your work colleagues, or you.
Or go home.
Or go home, are you going to the barbecue with the
Right.
work colleagues for the full time you would've if it was 12 to 2, or are you
Yeah.
going, eating your hot dog, your burger, and heading home early?
Makes sense.
Fair enough. It's your baby, it's your decision, I'm just
Yeah, I was
making a
gonna say,
suggestion.
Could we make
Whatever you
make
think
a
works best for
motion
you and your people.
allowing him to close the building, but leave time element open for him to maybe talk to the people, et cetera, see what they,
That works as well.
is that,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we allow the town administrator to close the town offices for a period of time at his discretion on June 21st, 2023 for the purposes of employee recognition barbecue.
motion made
Second.
and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried, thank you.
I'll make sure that you all get an invitation to that ahead of time.
I'd like to cook.
But yeah, I'll
I'd
volunteer
like
when
to-
you,
Yeah,
whatever
we
you
can talk,
need.
we'll talk about
Yeah.
that, I'll
Yeah.
have Tony reach out, she's
Yeah.
been the one planning this. I think we talked to whatever bank does ice cream truck, they're gonna come by
Fidelity.
too.
Vitality.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Item E, school debt annual town meeting,
Hmm.
debt, just discussing the reopening of the warrant. Nate, if you would.
So, as I've sent to you guys regularly over the last few weeks, the school, the Quabbin Regional School District did reach out in late April to seek if it was too late to enter the town warrant. I told them that the warrant was closed, but it was something that I could bring up to the select board in the event they wanted to reopen it. Now that we are a little bit down the road, we know exactly what that means. They were originally looking for $750,000 from each town over a 4-year period for a press box, bleachers, and a chiller, which is a piece of HVAC equipment. I'm learning a lot about facilities and the ridiculously expensive things that they need to run them. But the school committee did not approve the debt for the press box and the bleachers. So now they're coming with, I believe, 380. I don't know, I'd have to check.
I thought it said
367 or something, isn't it?
We got all kinds of renditions of
Yeah.
memory.
They're coming with a sum under $400,000 that I'll pull up when we need it, to seek the town's approve the school committee's debt. It would be $99,500 per year for 4 years.
387, 344.
Is that for us exclusively or for the 5-member
For the
town?
5-member towns.
What would
So-
what would our portion of that be?
$99,555 per year.
That's a lot.
So I didn't understand your question. The 387 and change is for us exclusively.
So now, is that an equal amount to every town, or just that's our division for the town of Hubbardston?
No, it's based on our population.
Based on the population.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Population of
I
students,
understood
and
it
we're
correctly.
number 2, so.
Okay. So now what happens, Nate, if we say,
Can I,
sorry.
oh, I'm sorry.
Or
Can I
just-
get clarity what this is for?
Chiller.
A chiller.
What is a chiller?
A chiller, from my understanding, is the main portion of an HVAC air conditioning unit.
It chills the water. It's a
And
water
that's for
system.
the high school?
High school and middle school.
And that's just a chiller.
Just a chiller.
Just a chiller. Over $1 million for a chiller. Crazy. Crazy.
It's a big chiller.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, it's big, but.
Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to ask the question, is that chiller probably Peter can help with this, the compressor, and do we know how many ton chiller it is? Like 200 ton?
We don't,
40?
I haven't seen any technicalities.
Okay. It's probably worth asking that question, how many ton chiller is it? It may be a couple of units for a total of X number of tons of chilling capacity.
Yeah, they make it sound like one in their proposal. Not, we haven't seen a proposal, but it sounds like one. Maybe it's 2 or 3 to cover the
Right,
load.
it's a very expensive chiller
Yeah,
if our portion is almost 500K.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
They've kept it relatively,
Larry?
yeah, they've
It's very
kept
blurry.
the information really close to vest.
Mm.
It came out fast.
Mhm.
It came out, in my opinion, I don't wanna turn this into a talk about the school situation, but I feel like this is not the best time that they
Well,
could have been.
Must have went out to bid, they must have a,
They couldn't come up with that figure without putting it out to bid.
that's what I mean, so they
it's
must
been-
have something.
They were waiting for the original amount that we had to pay, and then they slammed it on us right before. They want us to reopen the warrant on this. There's a reason for that, and that's how I feel with that.
So Nate, what happens if we say, I don't think we're gonna open the warrant and add this
Well,
to it?
that's the point I wanted to also make. This is a 5-town thing. So similar to the way we deal with the budget, even if we say nay, and the others go along with it, we're still responsible, so.
Where are
it's-
we in
we
the-
get to, well, bottom line, we would just be making a statement, either we're, in favor or not in favor, but we have no say about it.
And what happens if this chiller doesn't get replaced?
They're not gonna be,
My-
as cool in the
Yeah.
summer.
Nah.
My guess is that it is not broken down, but it would be getting there.
So do they have like a 5 or a 10-year capital plan? Is this on the capital
They
plan?
do
Have we
not
seen the
have,
capital plan?
they do not have any sort of long-range planning.
It's because they
And-
dump it on the
and
towns. They don't care.
that was, when I came in here, one of the major issues that my predecessor brought to my attention, to just keep hammering them to make a plan. Cause had we known that, if they had a plan and we had known that their estimation was a 13% increase in 2024, we obviously would have done some things different to plan for that. So they do not, hopefully with the new superintendent, it's someone that we can talk to into being a bit more reasonable in terms of letting us know what their long-range goals and or plans are.
I don't think your superintendent had much to do with that, but that's another story. I just think we need a lot more information on this. You
Yeah,
know, we're not just gonna sign off on $382,000.
Agreed.
I mean, what is a chiller? What does it do? How big is it? I mean, I don't need the specs of the machine, but I gotta have a better understanding of you know, what are the consequences of this thing not working? You
Yeah,
know,
what's
what
wrong
are the
with the
benefits
old
of having
That-
it working?
And how far out is it?
Right.
Because this
How
stuff is
far out is
not
it? And how long do they
gonna
last?
turn around and be
You
here
know,
when they,
this is like,
that doesn't just sit on
I'm not
somebody's
prepared
yard.
I'm not even prepared to consider voting on this till I get more details about the whole situation, let alone get it on the warrant
I
that's coming up
don't-
here shortly.
I 100% agree with you. Every time I ask questions to the administration, it gets sent back in a matter of fact way.
Well, why don't we have the chair of the board draft a letter and say, we're looking for more information?
I can
So
ask
at-
her for more information, I have no problem
So at this
asking
point, I
her
think it's
for-
too late to put it on, right? If we're not comfortable tonight
can't
with
put it on the
opening the
warrant.
warrant,
We're not meeting again, so.
I think we're all done with this conversation for the
Yes.
time being.
Yep.
We're not supporting it at this moment because we don't have enough, we didn't know about it, and
So what
And it-
happens if the other towns voted in?
Well-
What's the ramifications for our town?
We get slammed
9,500.
We
I know,
pay
but
the
then
money
how
for
do you-
5 years.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
how do you,
What do you
how
mean?
how does that work?
Well, then, they're just going into it blind then, and they don't care what they're giving money for. We need to know.
No, I'm not
No,
arguing that point.
I know what you mean,
I'm
but
just saying.
these other
Well, we haven't
towns gotta
budgeted
stop
for
being
it to begin
passive.
with.
Oh, I'm aware, I
So,
don't think
you
the
know,
other
Stop
towns
saying
have
no.
either, but.
We're running out of money. You know, these other towns, where they get their money?
We can't control what the other 4 towns do, but as far as I'm concerned for the town of Hubbardston,
Yes.
I agree with what Heather said, this is a non-starter.
Cause the other 4 towns, their meetings are after us, so they have more time to play with warrants and things like that.
And it's gonna continue to be
Figure
a
it out.
non-starter until we get more details about what this thing is, what
Yep.
it does, what its lifespan
I
is.
100%
Okay.
agree, like,
Well, could you draft, or have
Yep.
Tony draft up a letter, and I'd be happy to come in and sign
I
it.
can even, I'll give Cheryl a call and let her know that we need a lot more information.
You know, I think they've known about this for a long time, and I think they dumped it on us that way on purpose. And that's just my feeling. I don't know. I don't go to the meetings. I don't watch them. But it's shady, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I watched their meetings and this has not come up, so I haven't seen the latest one.
Well,
but-
how can they give us a
That's
price
the
then if they
meeting.
didn't send
Yeah.
out? Listen, you gotta have a bid for that to send us a price like that.
Well, that's what I mean, like,
So-
to get 3 people out for bids,
Yeah,
at least,
figure that
you
out.
know what I mean?
So they've known about it.
Yeah, cause she talked about, they came and talked to us about the press box, what, in September of last year?
November,
Yeah,
Something like
but
that.
she didn't do what she said she was gonna do for that,
Yeah, well.
about raising money.
Yeah,
Plus, it is like a last minute type thing, and our
Yeah.
budget is already, you know,
Blown.
set and taxed enough on it,
it's
no
not
pun
even what they
intended,
want,
but
so it's, we're already gonna have a special town meeting, right?
they're trying to sneak it in.
Unless all the other towns just say, oh, hell no, you know, but even still, we're gonna have to come back because they're gonna have to come back, and
Okay, so why don't we table this until we can get some more information?
such a time suck.
absolutely, hold on. I'm
Is that the consensus that everybody?
yeah, and I don't
Whatever-
even
whatever-
think it's
yeah.
tabling it
No, I
because
don't
we can't
even-
do
yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
Right,
we're just
I don't
not,
think
we're just
it's
not
just a
acting.
non-starter.
You guys
We're
are
not opening
acting
the
on it.
warrant.
Yeah.
You guys
Oh.
are not, you're not acting on it, it's not tabled.
We can
If-
table it till next April.
If it comes back.
Well, it's
if-
going to come
If
back.
they,
going to come
if they
back.
want us to reconsider this, we need a lot more details from them. About-
I don't, they didn't send anything, nothing.
I have forwarded
Why-
to
how
your
would-
attention everything.
Wonder how the other
I
towns
got.
are reacting to this.
They
I
just
did
pay.
not send,
You know,
yeah,
they
I did
just
not
pay,
send
write a
any
check.
information,
I'm not
expect
so sure
that
about
kind of
that.
cash, and just not send any info with it. I don't understand.
Rhetorical question.
I just, for real.
Why don't,
More reason to ignore it right now.
why don't we call a couple other towns, except for Barry, and see how they feel? Or see if they feel the same way we do.
At
We
that
can also
point,
just have
very
Nate
much.
pull their town meeting warrants and see if any
See
of
if
them
they-
made it on,
Yeah,
but that's,
True.
that won't change, I think, our position.
No, we can't open it, it's too, no.
Alright, Mr. Chairman, what's next?
okay. Annual town meeting warrant. I just, need a motion to accept, and then we will sign it.
There's been no other changes in this, Nate, since last time, other than legal looking and,
One second,
One
I'm
minute.
trying to, I was looking at emails from Cheryl.
To see if there was something somewhere that, there's nothing.
Who is Cheryl?
Cheryl Duval is the Director of Administrative Services for the Quabbin Regional School District. That is the person that we talk to whenever we find out about budgets or debt or anything like that. And then the superintendent's administrative assistant is Jessica Bennett, who will email about meeting needs and other stuff. Yeah, cause if we look at our, just go back a little bit, if we look at our debt assessment that was sent to us on March 9th, there's no mention of this,
No.
so. Yes, and it's a lot of the same old that I've seen since getting here, and that, not to speak ill of anyone, but once the school committee votes on something, it might as well be good as gold, in their opinion. And that's been the disagreement between the municipalities in the school district for much longer than any of us were sitting at this table, so.
And it's obvious too that, similar to when the, press box discussion was, and when Sheila was here, at that point it was gonna be fundraising.
Yes, sir, 100%.
And obviously that
or as
didn't
much
work,
as they
that didn't
could.
work out, so
How much
now
did they
it's,
fundraise
now
for the
it's gonna be
press box?
this. So-
No, they
Oh, they
had a
did?
fundraiser, but I think it was done by the alumni, and wasn't it like 52? Do you know, Mike?
No,
No.
I just think it was one.
Yeah, it was that one.
One event.
That cheerleading thing, and I wanna say it was done by the alumni, don't quote me though, cause I'm not sure if the school was behind it or not. But yeah, I wanna say it was like 50 grand or something, it came out, there was an article, I didn't go to it, it was in Barry, but it was the two cheerleaders teams that won, yeah. Kathy Vincent was on one year and the other year was like my grade, and they were the two not me, I'm not sure.
And they did a fundraiser for the
Yeah, they
bleacher
did a
and the press
fundraiser,
box?
yeah.
And they raised 50K?
I think it was around that.
Well, they only got
I,
900.
that number rings a bell.
They only got about 1.15 to go then.
Yeah, the press box was kinda.
Yeah, there's a website about it.
Okay, so back to the annual town meeting warrant, cause I think we've moved on from the
Yeah.
other item.
We just
that
need
we're
a
not
motion to
consulting.
sign it.
So Nate, the only question is, has there been any substantial changes in this since last time we met?
There have not been any substantial
Okay.
changes in this, it went to legal counsel, Carolyn made some changes. She is also just grammatical, legal,
Yeah.
the legal type changes, just to make sure that everything was safe to go forward. There may be a change on the floor to the solar
Bylaw?
zoning bylaw because of some of the suggestions made by Carolyn. But when I was thinking about how we would do it, all of the other options outside of just approving it and then have the planning board remove some of the language on the floor would have been more difficult than waiting. So, yeah, there have been no major changes.
So what we have in hand is what went to printing?
nothing has gone to printing quite yet.
Cause
What
we have
we
to
have
sign
in
it, we
hand
have to
is
sign
what
it,
will go to
yeah.
print.
Well, we haven't, yes.
So my only comment we just gotta fix the formatting, so like Article 6 isn't at the bottom of the page, and you have to turn the page to find Article
Yes.
6. Same thing with 13, I think that's all I saw. 17, there's a couple of them.
Absolutely.
Mis-
And this isn't the document that will go out during town meeting. I
Right.
Wrong.
Got it.
What's wrong?
My name.
Fix it.
Mr. Chairman, would you accept the motion?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to
That's
finalize
yours.
and approve the annual town meeting, warrant for Tuesday, June 6, 2023.
did you, I didn't hear, did you say sign it?
Approve and sign, I'll amend
Second.
that.
Okay. Motion made,
At the end of this meeting, I will change Katie's name and move forward with printing that, so you all can all sign it.
That's the incorrect way to spell
so,
my first
motion
name.
is in front of us,
I
any
did second.
discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes,
Yes.
opposed?
Yes.
Now, does that mean you want us to sign it tonight, or when are we gonna sign it?
We'll sign it tonight.
We will
And
sign
we'll just take a,
the copy tonight?
Yep.
Okay? Next, item, annual town election warrant. Again, basically, it's simply a motion to, accept it and sign it.
So moved. Oh.
So moved?
See, that one is spelled right.
no,
Yeah. I got my middle initial on there.
Katie,
Gotta
were you
fix-
seconding?
We have a
Yes, I
motion that
second
was
that.
so moved, okay?
Yes. I did. I
And seconded. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes,
Yeah.
opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
It's very formal.
Old business. Revised Rutland Regional Emergency Communications Center intermunicipal agreement. Nate, if you would, please.
So this was brought to your attention a few months back, and you asked me to go and find outside legal counsel, and then we brought it back to your attention, let's call it 2 meetings ago, where the legal counsel document was shown, and you had asked me as a board to go and reach out to Rutland to see if they'd be willing to make the changes that the legal counsel suggested, so they did. If you look at that, the change is under section 1, number 2, which now reads, number 1, the initial term shall be effective from July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2026. Number 2, the succeeding year shall automatically renew each July 1st unless notification is given by any member town as provided below and subject to funding by town meeting vote. So that outlines what I think they meant initially, but
That we discussed at the last, yeah,
but it kind of flubbed up a little bit on.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to sign the intermunicipal contract agreement with the town of Rutland for dispatch.
Thank you. Motion
Second.
made and second. Any discussion? Question, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes, opposed, motion carried, thank you. Town administrator report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening I will be giving my entry presentation, which I have. Oh, did she text you that?
Ow.
Which I have
I
fondly
was just
been
thinking about it.
referring to my Preaching to the Choir report, because I would like to thank you all for being so helpful during my time that I was entering the town and my duties as town administrator. So I will keep this relatively informal, and if anyone has any questions, but I do note that it is very much things you are already aware of. So,
The chair's not much better.
It's terrible. It's better than this.
let me figure this out real quick.
Poor Mike's sitting on the bench over there.
Keeps me
We're
awake.
gonna get you a cushion.
I think you
Mike.
just hit the down arrow, unless you're trying to make it bigger.
makes you click through. 1 second, please. Now I can just click the down arrow. Alright, so when I first started here, I had mentioned in both my interview and at my first meeting that one of my main entry objectives was going to be to put together an entry report. The report in its full can be found both in your select board meeting folder on the Google Drive and attached to the agenda for tonight's meeting. Some of my main objectives in doing this process were to learn about Hubbardston's internal process, values, and culture, create and cultivate relationships and build rapport through active listening, develop a written assessment of the town operations and create initial goals. The initial goals are written out within the report, and I will use that lengthy document to boil down into what I'm hoping to use as the beginning of both the FY24 select board goals and the FY24 town administrator goals, which are obviously tied together and should be succinct, to create department-specific operations plan. I, coming in from the outside world, did not expect to have as much turnover as I have experienced in my first months here, but we are dealing with it, and I think at this point a lot of things are beginning to click. Everyone's been getting along, so we are working well together, and we are heading towards the creation of that operations plan. Oh, now it's doing the thing again. How do we get to a point where we can reach those objectives? Because as most of us know, objectives are the kind of markers you hit on the way to reaching your goals. I completely stole that line from the gentleman that was hosting the ad hoc open space committee the other day.
What was that line again, Nate?
Objectives are the markers that you hit on your way to reaching your goals.
I like that, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna steal bricks.
Yeah, you gotta give Rick his credit.
Yeah.
So how are we gonna do this? I, over the last 6 months, have conducted document analysis, interviewed all of the employees, met with elected and appointed boards and committees, including all 5 of you, several times, hold virtual and in-person public meetings to determine resident priorities, visit local businesses and organizations to understand their needs and potential partnerships, tour relevant town infrastructure to assess its current state and plan for capital improvements. This is all things that I did very early on, and I would like to thank all of the elected, appointed, and hired people involved in the town of Hubbardston for graciously taking me and showing me what they knew and where everything was and how they go about doing what they do for the town. With that being said, I boiled it down to,
Nate,
yes,
it didn't like you.
I know, I have to do my,
Oh, I'm so
answer.
sorry, I thought
Yeah.
you thought it went down, cause
No,
Katie was laughing and then,
I
okay.
went down and then realized that I
so
skipped a part.
sorry.
But then I boiled it down to a number of issues, and like I said, these issues are not going to be new to the 5 of you, to Mike, to many people watching at home. The things we are about to discuss here tonight, right now, are communications, infrastructure, economic development, human resource, the budget, financial management, override opportunities, and long-term planning. Communications. Since getting here, communications has been one of my biggest goals, biggest things that I wanted to bring to the table. In all of the communities that I've worked for previously, including in Gardner where I served as a city councilor, communications was one of my strengths, and I wanted to bring that here. I believe we have begun doing things that are creating a more open and transparent line of communications between the government here in Hubbardston and the general town resident. I think that speaks to the fact that a lot of people have been, a lot is not necessarily a ton here in Hubbardston, but I would say that public hearing attendance is up and more people are
Tens and tens.
by tens and tens. Alright, and a lot
Sorry.
more people are understanding and being able to communicate with their town. I started hosting the Hubbardston Headlines little show that is on the cable channel and doing the Hubbardston Weekly segment on WGAW Gardner Radio and interviewing with Greater Gardner Magazine once a month, and I think a lot more people have been coming up and talking to me about some of the things that we are doing here in Hubbardston, the ways they can get involved and what they can do to help. Still, there are miles and miles to go, so some of the communications goals that I am contemplating and presenting are to create a comprehensive communications plan, establish a citizens advisory board to discuss a lot of the ways that the community could communicate more effectively with the residents and voters, continue the open office hours for both the town administrator and some of the other administrative positions. That's also going to turn into something I would like to call town hall to go, seeing as we are such a small municipality, we won't be able to go far, but I would like to bring some of the main things you'd be able to do at town hall out to some of the events that are being hosted in this town, and use a targeted marketing campaign for economic development. It is something I've said multiple times over the past few weeks, but Hubbardston does need to market and utilize the things that it has. I lived on the Hubbardston side of Gardner for most of my life, and until working here, I had no clue Mount Jeff existed. So, by marketing.
Have you found the butterfly garden yet?
I have not found the butterfly garden yet.
Okay, let me know when you do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask you what the plaque says.
There'll be a test on it tomorrow.
Yeah, there'll be a
So,
test.
I do believe that there is some need for marketing and that kind of programming to further promote the things you can do here. Because there are a lot of hiking opportunities, a lot of economic development opportunities that are associated with farms and agriculture, and that's something that we will talk about further in the presentation. Public buildings. As everyone knows, the public buildings are a major issue. Let me take a kind of a side wind to talk about one of the overarching issues that I'm going to be speaking of in regards to a number of the topics tonight. Our long-range plans as written in the late teens, 2017, 18, 19, were amazing when they were written, and they served their purpose. Between all of the turnover and having 4 different town administrators, they're out of date. One of the major plans for my first year is to get those plans up and running, because I'm slowly but surely realizing that a lot of the issues in seeking grants, seeking the ability to fix up our facilities, is that it takes a lot longer than, oh, what do you want to do? Oh, we need to fix that, we should go for a grant for this. by long-range planning, which will come up later, we will be able to focus on what actually needs to be done. I can speak until I'm blue in the face, and I'm sure everyone can as well, about the need for a public safety facility. That, I don't think I even need to go much further. We've spoken about it at the public hearing. We spoke about it during the creation of the Public Safety Building Committee. I hope to be able to work with the Public Safety Building Committee, the public safety officials here in town, and the elected officials to move forward on that. I do think it's going to be something that is going to take both time and tact to accomplish, but it's something that is drastically needed. Economic development. Economic development in Hubbardston is stronger than it seems. Like, there are strong business owners who are very, very proud. The Economic Development Committee wants to go out and get its hands dirty. That's one of the more think outside of the box committees that is here in Hubbardston, and having them associated with the economic development opportunities is going to be a strength for Hubbardston over time. Some of the goals that I found during my entry study to complete for economic development are completing the supplemental uses bylaw. That's the MRPC grant that we received a few months ago to look into supplementary uses at farms and agricultural land. Invest in necessary infrastructure. I will leave that where it is because I think some of the necessary infrastructure might be some of the most expensive infrastructure, so that's something that we may not be able to do for years and years, if not ever. Develop a comprehensive marketing strategy. It is something that I plan on applying for a grant with the Economic Development Committee in time. I have not brought it up to them yet because as my appointing authority, I felt it was only right to bring all of this up to you first. And collaborate with economic development partners to grow. A lot of what I'm talking about there is the chambers, the business incubators, the different business networking opportunities. When we're looking to build on business, the people that are willing to talk about that and willing to look into that are other business people. I would love to see a appropriate business go get it started at the Wachusett Business Incubator in Gardner or the Fitchburg Business Incubator, and then come back here to do their business in downtown Hubbardston. Human resources. This has been an issue for years. One of the major goals of my predecessor coming in was to clean up the human resources side of the administrative offices, and it got done to a certain extent, but then a global pandemic and massive turnover came. So now we have a human resources plan from 2019 with almost no implementation. Some of the goals here are
Nope,
Yeah.
we were waiting to
Sorry.
see.
I messed that up.
That's
But the
okay.
goals here are
Can you read your little
Oh,
print
no.
now? Oh no!
Here's your chest.
Do you need my
Size 4
phone to
font.
Zoom it.
adapting to changing workforce
Okay.
needs. We're going to need to address the evolving workforce landscape. People don't want to sit at their desk 24/7 anymore. People want to be able to be compensated fairly, and people would love to stay, but they need a lot of things that weren't necessarily needed to be offered before the pandemic. Staff training and development programs. I am always keeping an eye out for all of the staff and training that is out there for the staff, elected and appointed volunteers to be able to go to. However, a lot of it is not free. Down the road, at some point, we may need to look into some sort of training budget when possible to ensure that our staff is properly trained, properly licensed, and feeling like they're getting educated from their job as well. Update our HR policies. A lot of them were updated 3 or 4 years ago, but that's something I do have to do a deep dive into. And when I say update, I don't even necessarily mean update, but I'm talking about make sure that the staff knows they exist. Because a lot of the HR policies that we have are there, they're written, they're on paper, but nobody knows about them. Improve our file storage and onboarding system. That speaks for itself, and it's so internal that I believe we can fix it without much select board involvement. Up next is the budget. The budget this year, I came in and it was just starting up, but there was almost no centralized process. Everyone was turning in their own documents. It was up to the town administrator to kind of pull it all together. So I'm hoping in the future, if I can't use something like OpenGov or an application-based, cloud-based program like that, to at the very least create my own centralized system to be able to get information back and forth with department heads. There shouldn't need to be a email going back and forth every time something gets updated. I want to be able to have department heads log in, see, oh, he looked at my budget, he had a question about this, then it goes to the next point, oh, the FinCom had a question about that. That's something I would love to see, probably not next year, because we don't have the funding or bandwidth to really look into doing that right now, but we must. The goals that I'm looking forward to over the next period of time are to increase transparency and engage residents. The residents would also be able to log into that system. I think that since I've gotten here, I've made the budget numbers a lot more transparent. You can go onto the budget and finance page anytime and find graphs, charts, and numbers based on our budget. Organize the budgeting process effectively. The past couple of years have just been crazy. So I'll leave that at that, and we'll go on. And ensure budget decisions align with community priorities. This is one of the first conversations heading towards that, hopefully of several that will look to align goals, priorities, the budget, and the policies. Financial management.
I like how big
Yeah.
this slide is, very bold.
Yeah, so we have had, and I'm beating this drum, we've had a tremendous amount of turnover. They're the most tenured administrative employee, I think, started in 2018. So there is not a ton of institutional knowledge, and that is a double-edged sword, because whereas it means we are inexperienced in the ways of Hubbardston, it also means we can train to have good habits. So the goals for financial management are prioritizing staff training, increasing accountability, which by increasing accountability, if you read the report, what I mean by that is I don't wanna say no one, a majority of the departments are not checking their own spending to that of the accountant. So over the next year, I do wanna wait until the new fiscal starts to have them start a new process, but I would like for each department to have at the very least an Excel spreadsheet so that so that the need to call Kelly is not there every single time you need to know how much is in a line.
They don't know how much you're spending?
I'm sure they can figure out.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't keep track of their
They
spending.
do not keep, not everybody. A number of the departments do not keep track
Well,
of
it
their
should be a
spending
policy.
on their own. And there is. That's what I was talking
Well,
about
then,
earlier.
a letter reprimand works good too.
Yeah. No, I do want to increase accountability and reinforce the financial policies.
I think, if I can speak to that real quick, I think some of it really comes down to just people being trained, right?
Yeah.
A lot of
From the-
times people
yeah.
come into the municipality, it's their first municipal job, even if they have an accounting background, we're wonky, right, municipalities.
Yeah, that's different.
You know, you put an
Yeah.
accountant in, they're like, oh my god, what are you doing here, what is this kind of math? So it's just getting people trained and used to it, and there's some training out there, but there's not a lot.
It's
right?
hands-on, right?
It is, and unless you have someone who had really good books ahead of time, like
Yeah.
if you had a DPW assistant or a police admin person who, you know, kept meticulous notes on everything, Excel books all ready to go, and you walked in, they trained you how to use them, you kind of walk in blind going, what am I using here?
Mhm.
So it's just training and time.
Yeah. And a lot of what you just said hit on those three bullet points right there. Prioritizing staff training, increased accountability, and reinforce the financial policies.
Yeah.
So,
So it's often not people intentionally doing something they
Yeah, it's
shouldn't be
just-
doing, they just don't
They're,
know.
they're doing what they know how to do. I
And-
follow
and
you.
Some of the different departments have multiple lines,
rescind
and
the
they
last
have
part of my
to,
statement.
yeah, they have to put it in the correct
Yeah.
line.
Yeah,
and
no, I mean-
so it can get a little
I mean,
bit
it's not their
confusing.
fault, I mean, they were hired for a position, they just need more training in particular areas.
and we're still very early in ensuring that people are doing what's actually in their job descriptions. There was a time period here where employees were doing what was necessary, whether it was filling in for a department head that had turned over, or hey, I'll do that just to get through the pandemic. So that is something that we're working on, looking at job responsibilities, and that's a bigger part of the next part of this presentation than it is this part, but that's something that was noted the minute I got here, that a number of employees felt like they were not necessarily doing too much, but doing things that weren't part of their job. So, and that's something we're working on fixing, and you do need a full staff to be able to fix that adequately.
Yeah.
So, looking into a 2.5 override, this is something that unfortunately my predecessors, multiple of them, have been talking about this for years. The goals here are simple. We need to address the structural deficit, increase potential revenue streams, reduce the cost of renegotiating contracts that will start next year, engage the residents in decision making, because a lot of people and a lot of even boards, you say, oh, override or public safety building, and there's kind of a cackle, kind of a laugh. And I've had to say multiple times, like, well, I'm compensated to believe that we can do it. Like, it's my job to be positive about our options here. If everybody is saying, oh, we can't do it, then we can't. So this is something that I definitely want to look into opportunities about potentially moving forward. And some of the goals there, other than increasing revenue streams, which sounds a lot easier than it actually is reducing costs, renegotiating contracts, engaging residents in the decision making so that they're more aware. And you're gonna notice over the years that I'm a committee guy. The words I would have used outside of a meeting are not guy, but creating a municipal override committee that can look into driving that. I'm a big time believer in that if you let people get their hands dirty and you give them the opportunity to drive an idea or an initiative, then that's one of the best ways to go about that. I talked about long-range planning. It's very important to update our long-range plans, and I've already spoken about it. It impacts almost every single part of the municipality, and so I look forward to bringing forward nice. I look forward to the opportunity to bring forward long-range plans on IT, roads, the infrastructure, and recreating our capital improvement plan that was pretty much ransacked by CARES, ARPA, and just the influx of money, which is, it's a good problem to have, but that's not going to be the case over the next few years. Thank you. I'd like to thank you guys for working with me on this entry plan and working with me for the last 6 months as I came to understanding my job more and more. I'm by no means a master at it yet, but I look forward to working with you all day after day on bettering this community. Any questions?
Thank you.
Next presentation.
Yeah, goals, here we go, yeah.
Department goals. I do feel like I've been talking for 45 minutes, so
You have
I-
been.
Huh?
You have been.
Yeah.
And you're
So,
gonna put this all on the web too for folks at
this
home,
will
right?
all be on the web for people. I kept this one relatively simple, and it's just going to be a rundown of the goals from the different employees. I mistakenly left Bobby out of here because she's in Hawaii, and if you're not standing in front of me, but Mary Markowski has been our treasurer for approximately 2 months now. Some of her goals are professional development, to take advantage of all area association courses, complete annual required trainings, apply for a treasurer's test for 3 years now through 2025, and join the Mass Municipal Human Resources Association for network and certification. Her vision goals for the office are assist my office in financial forecasting, which is something that her predecessor Sandy did do, and address and eliminate audit concerns, which we received a few weeks back. Department goal is to increase cohesive functionality between roles, the finance, treasurer, collector, human resources. Mary, much like most municipal employees, does a lot. The treasurer collector's office in most towns have kind of become a dumping ground for benefits and anything to do with the budget and reporting. So we'd like to create some cohesiveness there, streamline processes and address efficiencies, and ensure banking compliance with positive pay and become HR compliant. Mary has already been looking into a number of ways we can save from banking fees, because it all adds up, 100, 150 a month here, 100, 150 a month there. It's never going to break the bank, but when we don't need to be spending that money, I was really happy to see her going into that and changing some of the banking accounts to make that better. Candace has been with us 3 weeks, and she is so far doing a wonderful job over there. People seem to be very happy with her type of constituent services and the knowledge that she walked through the door having. Some of her office goals are she wants to do a voting for dog tags.
I love this one.
Yeah, which I think is very cute. She wants the kids to get involved in the process. Candace over time will be taking over the website from me, which is something I've been doing on the back end of a lot of stuff.
I don't understand voting for dog tags, what does that mean?
It's a
The kids vote what shape the dog
The
tag's
kids-
gonna be
it's just
that
a
year,
cute
what color.
thing.
It's to get kids to learn how to vote and things like that. It's a
Oh.
community service kind of thing from the town.
Community engagement.
Yeah,
Like
sorry.
naming
It's like, do you want
Like
red, do you
naming a
want
snowplow
orange,
truck.
do you
Yeah,
want the
yeah.
hydrant,
Thing.
do you want the circle, the
Yeah.
oval, the
Mhm.
stop sign?
Dog bone.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then they can learn about voting when they go to vote for the shape of the dog tag,
Yeah.
Or color, whatever they.
or color,
yeah,
whatever.
whatever it is, yeah.
Did you wanna help out that day? You could be an election worker.
It's above my pay grade, I think.
There you go.
There's a cross-office goal to update the website again. At one point, this town really did have a up-to-date website, and we will be there very soon again. I'm looking into using a lot of charts and BI graphics and that kind of stuff in our website implementation. and Candace is gonna help with that, so that'll be awesome.
Did the pages on the cable channel that flip ever get updated? Cause you wanna talk about really outdated.
Oh, no.
Last time I saw it, it was super outdated.
And she is interested in new dog licensing software.
Sounds like money.
Hope not.
Hmm.
Personnel goals are to complete her first ATM in town election, she's well on her way to that, learn and understand the town bylaws and charter, and attend conferences, workshops, and seminars. For someone that's worked here less than 3 weeks, I couldn't ask for a better set of goals.
Mhm.
Chris Barbera, the library director. Goals are to set up a video display in the foyer using Raspberry Pi and monitor to show upcoming activities for library and town entities.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I like Raspberry Pi as well. To address
Stop.
You usually add an E to your pie.
Yeah.
Yes.
to address foundation needs with the DPW. That's something I'll have to talk to her about because the DPW is spread quite thin. And to increase Instagram usage to showcase the library. The library is one of the pillars of this town. It's one of the most beautiful buildings that the town has, and I hope that it does get showcased. Chief Hayes, his goals are apparatus replacement, obtain funding to replace engine 2. He will measure this goal by funds allocated in FY24. Order engine by end of FY24 for delivery in 18 to 24 months. So we talk about turnaround a lot lately when we're purchasing things, so 18 to 24 months on a new fire truck. Emergency vehicle driver training simulator. Provide in-house emergency vehicle operations training for the fire department, who will obtain training from the Massachusetts Fire Academy and our insurance provider, and will complete this training by the end of next year. Bob has clearly been doing this for a while, because he has beginning, middle, and ends of his goal. Continuing education, he wants to attend the FCAM. I was gonna take a guess, but no.
Don't.
The professional.
FCAM.
FCAM, professional conference, or online classes in fire and EMS. Chief Kuchar, his professional development goals are send department members to required and specialized training classes and to promote an officer to sergeant and provide leadership training. If we remember, there was a second sergeant, it was Sergeant Kuchar. Since his promotion, Officer Blood has been acting as a interim sergeant. I know the chief is looking forward to opening that up to being permanent. There are a few interested parties. Community engagement goals: run rape, aggression, defense classes, RAD classes, participate in major public events, and host the Halloween block party.
Is he looking to have his people be trained in RAD or just to host, meaning pull in an outside vendor?
I think he's interested in holding classes for the women of the community, which would
Be run by an outside vendor?
Anybody can be trained in RAD.
No, but
Yeah.
who runs, so some police departments train their officers, right? Like I
Mhm.
was in one town, we trained the officers, but we had actually a revolving fund for it because you had to get the suits, you had to constantly have the officers have to be certified and so forth. Another community, they actually have a outside vendor come in.
I know we work with Rutland on using their equipment, but I'm not confident in saying that a
Who
few of our
teaches
officers
it.
are not trained in that, cause
Okay.
I wanna say they may be.
Do they get in the suits or they get somebody else to get in the suit?
They get in the suits.
Okay,
Mark Kresge,
got it.
who is our land use clerk, and if town meeting goes well, our part-time town planner. His professional development is to attend available training opportunities and finalize the application checklist for the planning board process. That will be huge because a lot of people who are applying for things do not know which way to go. So that will be a very effective use of time. Tony Walker, the executive assistant. Hi, Tony. Professional development, improve efficiencies with Microsoft Office Suite, streamline and document the annual process, review training materials for town website assistants. The Civic Plus has an awesome training module on the back end of it. It makes the website updating quite easy. And plan team building activities, that's what I was talking about earlier, with looking forward to doing a team building or just fun thing every couple months, and to work with myself and Mary to organize human resources on the file and general file side. And that is it. That is the goals of the departments, and I thank you for listening this evening. Any questions I can provide answers to? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You missed Nancy too.
Oh.
What'd you say?
He missed Nancy too.
I did?
Yeah. And Nancy's got two.
Nancy does.
Wow. Please.
I didn't miss Nancy or Bobby in the long form.
In the long form, it's on the thing, so scroll through.
Did we have Travis? I didn't.
Yeah, Travis too.
It's okay.
Building
It's
inspector.
If you
okay.
send it to us, we'll read it, and if you put it on the website, people at home will read it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't see that we have any policies to review, correct?
Yep.
Matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair, is there anything to be brought up?
Yeah, I got a few things. I wanna talk a little bit about the school and the budget and the increase in the budget. Where do we stand with that? What did we
Right.
budget and what's the latest from the school?
The latest from the school was that 9.02 we've talked about before. The standing amount that we've budgeted since the beginning was the 6%, which is more than we can handle comfortably. We did have to make some tough decisions to even get to 6%. What we could handle what we can handle comfortably is a 4.4% increase. And even that isn't comfortably per se.
So where do we stand? Are they going back to the drawing board?
We will have to bring it to town meeting.
Okay.
What's the order of town meetings this year? Who goes first? Is it us?
We're always first.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, we have been for.
So I do anticipate that once the Senate budget comes out, that there will be one more kind of announcement. Cause even when they announced the 9.02, they kind of, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, this isn't the lowest. But I did mention to them a number of times, like, why can't we just know the lowest? Cause they're working from, and I really don't wanna turn this
No,
into
okay.
a bash in the school, but.
Alright, next question. ARPA. What is the balance in the ARPA account currently? I guess some money was turned back because of the feasibility study for the safety building.
Yep, we had
So what's the balance in that account now, do we know?
I'll have to get that to you.
Do you
Do you
know?
know?
Heather, do you
No,
know?
Heather doesn't know,
Oh,
but thank you for having that much confidence in me.
How much was turned back? 7,000 or something?
60, wasn't it?
Quite a
Like
bit.
60,000?
Quite a bit.
Well,
It wasn't turned back
Yeah.
per se, we just did not
We
use
didn't-
it.
we were
It's-
done with
It's
it, yeah.
still labeled as feasibility study.
Right.
And if possible, I would like to see it remain labeled as feasibility study.
Right.
But that is obviously up to you as the select board, but I can.
We got a boiler that's more pressing than feasibility right now, so.
Well,
if-
that's in the,
What?
that's in the warrant. It's in the warrant.
Boil, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But the
Okay.
feasibility study with the public safety committee forming makes a lot of sense to leave that funds there
Yeah,
for
I
that
guess.
purpose.
And when we're talking about it like that, either ARPA or free cash, it's which pocket do you want it to come out at that point?
Yeah.
It's not like we would really make a wild difference to the bottom line, which,
well, I mean, it's 50 grand, and you don't have to worry about finding.
yes,
It's
no.
already there,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Just-
Well, I guess my concern is that I got a feeling that some of this money might be clawed back. So what can we do to protect ourselves from having this money clawed back?
Have it appropriated or
By,
encumbered.
yeah, we have to have it appropriated, if by clawed back you mean taken back by the federal government.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
So, we have to have it appropriated by the end of '24.
We've got a year.
Yeah, we have a year to appropriate it, and then 2 years to use it.
Till 26?
Yeah.
We have most of it accounted for.
Yeah, we have
There's
most of
only
it
a
Yeah, so how much is unappropriated? Is this 60,000 considered appropriated
Yes,
now that
the
we have it
60,000
allocated
is
to the
considered
feasible?
appropriated. If you remember, we did this out a couple of meetings ago, it actually might have been the meeting you weren't here. Were you here when we talked about ARPA in length?
I wouldn't be asking if I was.
That makes sense. Like, hold on, let me see.
Yeah,
what I-
we were down to small amount.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
we were.
not
I think it was under 20.
under
right?
20, maybe
Yeah.
under 10. Let me see if I can.
I wanna say it was 18,000. But I could be wrong.
Can we put it perhaps on the next agenda so that Nate has time to look up those numbers and then we can chat about it?
Yeah, unless he's got it at his fingertips right now.
See, it's gonna change because not everybody's cashing their checks over here either,
Yeah,
right?
but we have to hold those,
Right.
But that's allocated.
so.
Yeah, true. So you're just looking for unallocated. So we-
Unprotected money that
So we can
might go
tie
away.
it up, yeah, tie it up before it goes, has a chance to go away.
Yes.
I hear ya.
I have that number. I'll get it to you. I have so many files.
Don't worry.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, some time ago, I noted that the clock on the school was not working. I was told that you looked into it, Nate, and, that was back in the winter. You said come springtime, you were gonna have, the school might come out, or somebody from the school might come out to look at
They
it.
did say that. I'll check in with them on it.
Can you double check on that?
I also noticed that the clock wasn't working the other day. I figured this was gonna come up.
The other day, hadn't been working for 2.5 years.
Yeah, I parked next to it.
I know you do.
Well, they talked about it when,
Yeah.
the superintendent was here in October,
Yeah.
cause you brought it up to her
Yeah.
attention.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard anything since, have you? No.
It's not a
Yeah.
priority, it's not a priority.
So with that
you know.
9% increase, does that cover the clock?
No, that's, no, we'd have to do an
Careful,
override for
when it goes up to
that.
10%.
They don't wiggle. They just put it on the people.
What was it? 500, was it 500,000 per percent? Is that what roughly it comes out to be? The amount of money, is that right?
It's less than that.
What was that?
On the school budget, et cetera, roughly it's 500,000 per percent.
Yeah, it's, I can show you.
I think
that.
it's roughly, that was the figure we talked about.
For the school's budget or our budget? The school's budget.
School.
Well, how it affected us and everything else, yeah. There's somewhere around that, that's okay, I'm not,
Yeah, try to pull up more slides, my god.
Yeah.
You gotta start putting things, yeah, I don't even know how to label that, never mind. It's got so many different
So
files.
the school,
300.
maybe it was 50.
so Chris, that, I showed you this before, but that's what you, essentially what you were asking earlier, is what the different percentages equated to in terms of monetary value
For Hubbardston.
for Hubbardston directly?
So percentages of assessment, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Our assessment, not their budget percentage.
No, that's ours. Theirs is a much larger budget, so they're still able to say things like, oh, we only went up 3%. But that's 3% of a $27 million budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just wanted to know what the delta was between us and them. And,
I'll take a walk over there and ask about the clock, just cause
No, it's,
calling hasn't been working.
There's actually, yeah, there's 4 clocks on that, and one of them doesn't even have the hand.
Okay. Can we move on?
Yeah,
I don't see any press here for any questions, et cetera, so, Mike?
Public, Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road, I apologize, I raised a question earlier and didn't identify myself regarding the chillers, so Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion adjourned. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Sure, I have to print that.